Good evening. Are you guys okay if I stay seated? Is that okay? All right. And can online hear me okay? If I take it a little.
We can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So, Helen and Brian and Roberta and I at various different times, all had conversations about, as we look to the future here for the next few months, if we do end up having a bond vote, this fall, that what would the communications plan look like for that bond vote? And it wasn't that long ago. I mean, in fact, it's been a while. It was in 2007 that our service area had a significant bond vote, specifically for the hospital. So we just thought that it might be helpful and informative if we just took a minute to look back at how we dealt with that one. And, you know, just to put everybody kind of on the same playing field and make sure everybody understands how we did it, what the, you know, some of the lessons learned were, was, and that type of thing. So I just threw together a few slides that'll just give us some basic information on that one. So slide 2, this was a special mail-in vote for funding to finish a project that was already started. Okay, we were already under construction. We took the project and phased it. Phase 1, we had enough money to do. We were looking for funding to finish the project, which was now called phase 2. To do that, we established a committee, which was different than the building committee. The hospital had a building committee that was making decisions about, you know, design and that kind of stuff. And then we had a committee that was kind of the communications committee. And then a piece of that, we established a PAC, a political action committee that was friends of South Peninsula Hospital. Then we wrote a communications plan, and we developed kind of an implementation team when it, like, where the rubber hits the road, where we were like literally running around at presentations and that type of thing. We started our planning for it in December of 2006, and we rolled out the campaign by middle of February at Winter Carnival, and we were completed on the day that the ballots were due, May 8th. So the campaign, we had a wide variety of techniques that we used and approaches that we used to get the word out. Put everything out in a timeline. We did radio ads, newspaper ads, speaking engagements and presentations, staff meetings here at the hospital, letters to the editor, banners in town, brochures all around town, lunch and learns here at the hospital for the public and staff, tours of the existing project, lots of media coverage on the existing project, flyers in the newspaper, in our paycheck stuffers, in other organizations' newsletters, in waiting rooms. We created talking points and shared them with any of our stakeholders. We did talk shows on radio and did a service area mailing. Next slide. This was just an example of one of the tools. This was one of the first brochures that we came up with. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys in the room, you have printed copies in front of you of what we're doing. We're on page 4 now of it. So this was one of the first 2-sided brochures that was 8.5 by 11 that we did, and it was just kind of frequently asked questions kind of thing. And then these are some of the newspaper ads. If you go to slide 5, we focused heavy on the, that it's about completing the expansion. We're already underway. We need this money to complete the expansion. Talked about what was already under construction, what we were going to complete it, and really talked a lot, made sure that all of our advertising explained that it was a special election. It was going to be a ballot that came in the mail, and you had to watch for the ballot. Then we did lots of testimonials. We got people to sign up. All these people loaned their names to be used in a group support, an ad supporting the bond. And the next slide shows lots of testimonial type ads that ran in the newspaper. Tried to find really visible names, well known in the community, that carried respect, and that they were influencers and opinion leaders. A longtime acute care nurse, our acute care manager at the time, whose husband was very well known in town as the wrap maker at Latitude. So lots of people knew them. Bruce Turkington, longtime family, homesteading family, and really very active in the business community, and at the time, a big store manager. And Julie Woodward, who at the time was a local banker. And then the next slide, we did a mailing. And so this is an example of the mailer that we did, and it was to the whole service area. And again, we used familiar faces, Julie, and then on that one, we used Ginger and Suzanne Wagner, who are, again, well known in the community. And at the time, Stephen, I think, might have been a foundation member, probably, on the foundation board. But this is what the mailer looked like in real. And then next slide shows you what the actual ballot was, and it shows you the language that people actually voted on. And so we were voting on, this is the real test with my glasses, we were voting on 14.7 million. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's total bond, 14.7 million. So drum roll, please. Mail-in ballot. The ballots went out in the mail. People could vote and get it returned. And slide 9. Whew, slide 9. 1,342 people voted yes, and 1,267 people voted no. And it was just unbelievable how tight that was. I broke down the communities and how the vote went in each community. And the vote looks a little closer than what it really was, because, you know, all that really was about 32 people. If 33 people had voted differently, it would have gone differently. So that's really, it was really tight. The special election cost us just about $26,000, and that I think came out of service area funds or borough funds directly. How you funded the tax? No, that was what the vote, the ballot, the cost of the election. Oh, okay, but the PAC wasn't funded that one. No. So then the next slide, page 10, is how the campaign was funded. So on the right of the slide is the actual budget, everything we spent, and then broken down by whether it was paid for by the service area, the nonprofit, or Friends of. And the Friends of, we pretty much, this was a big part of the Friends of right here. Anything that was about said this, vote yes, really big, vote yes, then that was coming out of the Friends. If it was a little less aggressive, then it was the hospital. And if it was typically, there's a vote on this day for a bond to finish the project, that was the service area. And so as long as it was strictly education about the vote, then the service area could do it. What did the PAC do then for the, what was their function if all the money came out of these three entities? The PAC was Friends of. Oh, okay. The right. When you said you formed one, yeah, I thought you formed a special one. It was just formed for this and then dissolved. Mm-hmm. We dissolved it just a couple months after the vote then. Now there was a group of people that was acting as a friend of that was part of the committee and lending their names to things and that kind of thing, but that was informal. So I guess that's just a snapshot of how that went. It was all hands on deck, getting everybody, doctors, you know, it was all hands on deck. That's all I did. So right, Ralph? Yeah. Yeah, that's all I did. So I put the next slide, I just put a few comparisons between then and now, just to kind of like help us, I don't know, just set the tone. So in 2007, the one we just went over, so number one, that project was already in progress. It was a mail-in vote. You guys, we had like 26% return. That's like remarkable for a mail. I mean, it's incredible. It clearly benefited the patient. Everything that was in the ads and everything was very clearly a benefit to a patient, right? If you looked at like, what's it going to do? Well, it's going to, you know, put 18 private rooms in our hospital, and it's going to, you know, it was all stuff that the patient could be, that the voter could get really tangible about. And we had lots of support from well-known community leaders. We didn't have many naysayers who were really well known, other than Dr. Annabo and Dr. Lawyer, but anyway.
They were no voters?
So anyway, other than the two grumpy leaders, come right on letter to the editor. That's both. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, but they were both against it. And he was against it. Annabo was against it because of fear of did we really need to grow, and were we going to be able to pay? Like it was fear of growth. That's what it was. And it passed by only 32 votes. Now, if you compare that to now, so these are brand new projects, right? Like this isn't, you know, rebuilding something we already have. So there's going to be a lot more education that will be needed. You know, like nobody can even tell you the name of our electronic medical record, or, you know, all they know is whether they have to log in for it or if they like it, or so there's just going to be more education needed. It's a highly engaged election season. Like people are paying attention to everything. So even though we had 26% of the voters last time, there was 74% not paying enough attention. Like they had the ballot in their living room and didn't pay attention to vote. Whereas in this case, people were paying attention and out. Now it's not going to be on the same day. This would be the October election, not November, but still, it's a hot election season. Our assessments just went up, so now people are paying attention to their you know, taxes and stuff. The benefit to patients is clear for a piece of the bond, but the additional expenses maybe not, the benefit maybe not as obvious. The electronic record or the pharmacy move, or, you know, the stuff that's quite patient care. A little different voter group, fewer from the Milchick and Clam Gulch now, right? Definitely nobody from Clam Gulch, and a few left from the Milchick area, and those were both communities that have failed in, the last one failed in. Camping costs would be much higher. Like, I'll tell you, when I looked at the prices we paid for stuff, I can't believe it. I was doing the math last night, and like, it would be more than double. Just to repeat what we did would be more than double. I mean, because of the cost of an ad in the paper, cost of a radio ad now, everything is so much more. Now we have 600 employees, more than, to hopefully become proponents of, spokespeople for, you know, we have a greater percentage of the service area that are more, you know, because they work here, are more familiar. The makeup of the community is different. I think we have fewer people in the community that kind of everybody considers a good opinion leader or thought leader. Like I think now everybody in the service area thinks they're an opinion leader. Or I don't necessarily, you know, that's what social media does. That now we all have our. It's not just the letters to the editor. I don't think anybody cares less about whether a newspaper supports you or not. Like whether you get the
More communication.
yeah. We need a much larger amount, I'm assuming. I don't know the numbers yet, but I'm assuming we're looking at close to double what we did last time. And the other thing, and I didn't put these in order from pros and cons, but I feel like I'm going back and forth and back and forth. And I do think that we have a lot of new residents who aren't afraid of taxes, like where they lived or just came from. Hey, this is a deal here. Sure, I'll pay a little bit more, or I don't care. So I don't like it. I feel that that's in our favor, that would make it a little easier. So if it ends up being on the October ballot, I would think that we would want to really be ramped up by June and really be hitting it hard. And we wouldn't be able to do much earlier than that anyway, because we still haven't gone through any type of assembly meetings and everything. So yeah, it's not like we could start much earlier. I've done one or two. I did a just kind of at my Rotary presentation a couple weeks ago. I had several slides on if this happens, this is what it will look like, and like I didn't get the feel that people had an issue with it, because I said at the time, we're hoping that it wouldn't be an increase of, the mill rate for the service area. So there you are. I have this unbelievable 3-ring binder that is the entire history, every single person and what they did, whether they wrote a letter to the editor. We had like weeks of letters to the editor. I gotta find the section here. It's just like every single week would be a different letter. I'm not putting my finger here. Just an ads and just lots of letters, public testimony. I mean, it just went on and on. So it was really nice. But we just kept a really good list of everybody and what they did, whether it was, came to a presentation to give moral support or wrote a letter or gave their name to the ad or whatever. So, and we sent everybody a thank you, and we sent everybody an invitation to the grand opening, so that we were able to come full circle, because they're the ones who didn't have. Didn't have this right. So, yeah, I guess at this point, it's just a matter of we would have to shift strategy a little bit. Social media is going to be a little stronger. No, a little. We use social media at all. So social media is going to be stronger, less reliance on the newspapers. I think it's going to come down to one-to-one, eye-to-eye, people talking to the people they know, sharing the information, and then using all of the traditional outlets. What is the calendar at this point? When is it hitting this board? When is it hitting the operating board?
Yeah. The original calendar that they gave us, we would like to have taken it to our board this month and third board in April, and that would make it pretty December, but we're not going to meet that. So it might go out of order next month to get third board first, and then go operating board after that. We're really waiting on the mayor and that kind of give us the go ahead. They want to draft the resolution, have our resolution, follow up on their resolution. So we're waiting for them.
So it wouldn't be approved at the assembly, because it would have to go at least to the meeting at the assembly.
It has to go, yeah, to, the plan is, administration is thinking we'd be fine to do it in July, my person is do it in June. That's our deadline.
Yeah, because we can't start
Right.
until, right.
Exactly, so our hopes are to get it introduced in that first meeting.
Okay.
That's our
Okay.
goal.
There's only one meeting in July, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's too early to even start writing a plan for this one. But this at least helps everybody get thinking. If there's anything in the presentation that you want a real copy of, I can, email it to you.
Somewhere in my brain, I thought we'd done meeting or something, a couple more things from it. Am I wrong?
Generally, we don't meet in June or July, but yeah,
Yeah, but we could,
we could, but we would have the resolution maybe in April. Yeah. Very well.
Yeah, but I would need this group. Yeah, we would need this group to really
Yeah.
be up on all the information, and even if they were just Zoom meeting, just to be constantly keeping everybody informed and soliciting help.
So in the back of your mind, I could keep that we could be meeting on the
At least on there. Yeah.
sounds like it would be helpful.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
I have a question about the Friends of, the pack.
Yeah.
So was that a formal pack that was registered with APOP?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Me and Barbara Howard.
Friends of what?
South Peninsula Hospital.
I figured that. It just said Friends of.
Well, it'd be the mailer.
Okay, Gotcha. Friends of South Peninsula Hospital. And it was a formal pack. So it had to give reports to APOP.
Yep.
And funding and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I was the treasurer, Barbara was the president. I don't remember who was vice president. Might have been Marion though.
Something that the borough has started to do since that election is to appropriate a certain amount of dollars for informational and education purposes for that bond that'll come out of the borough. Any proposition regardless, there's so many dollars appropriated from our coffers but it's informational only, and it's not a
Oh,
advocate for, but it's good information.
mhm.
And is it true there's no longer statements for or against ballot propositions?
I believe there is not anymore, I have to double check.
When will be determined whether there's mill rate?
Just that, we can share a slide, with you on here, at least these are preliminary, and, you know, we need, what's coming from the mayor, so the other thing, I think, the Derotha slide, talked about the NLTIC line, so at the borough, there's two funds now, there's 601 and 602, and 601 had all of the old, bond indebtedness, so those residents included in NLTIC, that didn't include Philadelphia residents. That one will eventually go to 0, and it's slated this year to go down by 0.5 or point,
Point five five.
0.55. On the 601, and the 602 has always just been capital projects, and that one has been 1.12. And so in 2025, the way the current budget documents are that Brandy is sending out, the 601 is going down 0.55, and so Anna has put up there at the top right hand corner the combined mill levy. So right now it's like 2.12. It would drop to 1.57, and then it would go back up to 2.24, and the going back up to 2.24, essentially where it was, would then fund between a $35 and $38 million bond project. And so if you're comparing 24 to 26, it would go up by 0.12. We've had a lot of conversations with the mayor, with Kelly, with others about, it's just our proposal on the bottom there. It's not the mayor's proposal or anybody else's. Is if there is a way to the 601 has to go down. But if the 602, if we could bump it up by the 0.55 that the 601 is going down so that the mill levy would stay constant through those 2 years, it would be a lot less confusing to explain this to the service area taxpayer when we go out and do all this. It's going to be harder to explain to them that drops 0.55 and then goes right back up for the new bond. And we have enough capital projects, you know, here at the hospital, obviously, that we could use that additional funding for. But that's really something we talked to the mayor about, to Brandy about. I think we talked about the last service area board meeting. You know, is there a way that we could keep that constant? But it's really like that's in the mayor's court.
Well, and the mayor supports that same thing as well, and really where our pushback is extremely capable, qualified Brandy, finance director, say, well, we have all of these parameters, and things that we have to flesh through. So they're all aware that the goal is to leave it flat in the overall picture. It's just finding the mechanism to make it appropriate, and projects being capitalized would allow that. And you have a meeting with, in the service area.
Me and Roberta, we have a meeting with the mayor on the 20th to do our budget presentation. I do the quarterly presentation on the 19th, and then get there for the 20th. And so that's been our proposal to them all along, is if there's a way that they can work that out. We just we'll have meetings back and forth with Randy and the mayor and about is there a way to increase the 602 and so the 601 will eventually go away. But so what it would mean though is that the mill levy for the 602 right now, what is it, 1.1 would have to go up to 1.67, right? Like, so there's a group of people who would experience an increase in their mill levy. So like the however many it is, 3,000 that are in the Seldovia, that group that came on, into the 602, they would experience an increase in the mill levy this year, 2025. In theory, if the bond passed, they would experience it in 2026, but this would force that group of the service area to experience it sooner. Does that make sense?
Well, I've got a question. I'm a little confused because the budget that we recommended at our last meeting would keep the 602 at 1.12 and drop 601 to 0.45 for a total of 1.57. That's what we recommended. But now you're saying that you want to increase that for fiscal year 25 beyond what we recommended?
I think, I guess, I don't know if that was
Yes.
okay.
So
the documents that Brandy has shared with us, and items that were discussed at the last secretary meeting, where we did look at the 1.12 and the 0.45. This has all kind of evolved since our last service area.
So would you come back to us for a recommendation to increase what we originally recommended? 1.57 total.
Well, so what we did is, you know, at that meeting, we had already talked to the mayor about, hey, we would like to keep it, you know, if there's a way to make it 602, we could keep it that way. And Brandy presented, if you'll remember, she presented on, hey, this is something that we're working on. And then our conversations with the mayor and with Kelly and everyone else has been, is this something that you need a motion from the service area board, you know, for the mayor to do that? Like, do you want a formal resolution? And we really still haven't gotten an answer about that. And so if they do want that, then yes, that's your point, and we would bring it back in April, you know, for your, if the mayor says yes, then it would be nice for you all to weigh in and have a vote on that, then we would bring it back in April, either through a motion or a resolution. You would have the opportunity to consider that at that meeting.
We recommend increasing it, but from what we recommended last time.
Yeah.
And the conversation I had with Brandy regarding our timeline and what that looks like and how that would affect the potential for it being successful. Her response to me was, we have a secretary board that recommended a particular mill rate, but remember at the end of the day.
Okay, well, assembly.
Well, assembly position, right, and then, yeah, as the mayor meets with them, you know, he can choose to say yes or no.
You can make whatever recommendation you want. For that.
Exactly, and then it is the assembly final.
And then, yeah, you send it. Yeah. Well, that was at least our thoughts, and what we've been saying all along is that I feel like that makes it easier, so than, you know, than a reduction and then an increase.
Yeah, would you slide over? Yeah, that's a pretty decent increase. So 1.57 to 2.24.
That's,
For one part of that.
45%.
Yeah, and then, and if, without that, it would increase 0.12, whatever that is.
How many, are in the, when we have that combined pool, is it, are you saying there's 3,000 that are new?
I don't know the exact number, but yeah, I'm thinking it's about 3,000 people that are
That were brought in on that?
that were brought in on the 602.
I didn't know what that means.
And there's a bunch that will get a decrease in that. The 601, they're gonna experience, the Nilsic band up there is gonna experience a decrease no matter what. And then the Philadelphia group, I'm telling you, would experience an increase, either this year or next year, depending on whether we keep it flat or,
Right.
So, yes. Which are sensitive to that too.
Ryan, can you guys
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah,
When you say Seldovia isn't in our service area, correct?
That's
Right.
true, yeah. I just meant the area that goes across.
Okay, so probably across the bay.
Seldovia area is.
Is, right.
The Seldovia area is, it's just the city that's exempt.
That area outside the Boulder Village.
And
If
is
you
that, people probably know more than I do about, is that the actual area that was added when we did that big group one made? So, and there was a little bit of a loss, right? Like in total population, between what we lost in Nilsic and what we picked up in Philadelphia.
I didn't prepare for that one.
Okay. Well,
It was
showed
my-
it.
I know.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit.
I didn't bring
The
that one.
loss wasn't in the Nilsic, always remained in. It was north of the Nilsic.
Okay, sorry.
So, the seal off, I think, is what we lost. The Nilsic has always remained in them. And
Yeah, well, the
There's a
road
good
is
number
a
of
little
notes
bit.
from Barbara.
the Barbara,
Yeah.
Road, which is north of the Nilsic.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's
oh, it is
about-
north, yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right.
So
Whatever you
all,
want me to refer to it in the future. So the bar, I'll call them the Barbara.
or the northern, like, you know,
In between.
between the Nilsic and the seal off.
It was the whole, yeah, it was Plan Golf.
Well, Plan Golf and seal off, yeah. Those were all removed from the service area, and Nilsic stayed in.
We should bring them out. We'll bring them out next time and then show exactly what was
Yeah.
added and the number.
And then, Howard Cove, Parkway, and then all that was all added.
Derotha did that, I should have brought it. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, there'll be a group that will have an added amount,
Correct.
regardless.
So,
The majority of people would just experience the same, if we got the same.
So the new people, we'll call new group.
Yeah, the new.
So when the new group gets added, when theirs goes up,
Mhm.
they don't have a choice in it. It would just happen to catch them up.
Well, they'll get a vote, right? Oh, you mean if we did it in 2025?
With their, having nothing to do with this.
Yeah,
The new group is getting an
Yeah.
increase.
and I don't know how that works.
I don't remember telling them that when we did. When we did the vote. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
mill rate
Well,
will
that's a
change from year to year by
Sure.
the assembly without a vote
Yeah.
of the people.
yeah, but why is theirs changing and everybody else's isn't? Like, why didn't we just bring them? Because we couldn't bring them whole,
Yeah.
because we weren't whole, and we
Okay.
lost some of us,
yeah,
and I think.
because they weren't obligated to the
Right.
bonds that were gonna go away and just go home.
They're not paying the 0.45 rate. There's people in the middle are, there's the north section, the
Yeah.
south section,
And
and the
everybody
big
else.
section in the middle.
We definitely need some map.
Yeah, boundaries and pockets of population will be next month. Next conversation. Yeah,
Derotha, I guess my question is there a name for the project yet? Like, what is the name of the project?
well, I don't know what your resolutions are even titled
Yeah.
yet or anything like
They're
that.
not- We're waiting for the mayor to draft it, and Don Hedges wants to wait for their resolution with the name, letting them name it, I guess, and.
No, we can name it,
Okay.
they're just gonna wanna have the specifics, so they can have a handle on those actual dollars, so when that language is starting to be drafted, it needs to be a different name, because I think the name of the project, because what the resolution says is what goes about, so we'll have it on that, and we'll be able to.
Yeah,
We don't have a name yet.
And the final pieces, we're waiting to meet with the mayor and John to make sure we're all in alignment on the priorities.
Meeting on the 20th is, where I think it'll start to gel. And then,
Yeah.
going forward.
put your thinking cap on though, Roberta, because it's a messy, the subject's messy. Nuclear medicine, oncology expansion, pharmacy relocate, new electronic health record, like,
The health record won't be in it, but it'll be infrastructure. and
oh, health record won't?
No.
That's a definite?
We're gonna, you the loan that the borough gave us for the. electronic
Okay,
health
great.
record. So it'll be infrastructure, the certificate of need projects, which are the first three things you mentioned, and then still pending on some of the properties surrounding the hospital. There's been working on negotiating, so those processes, a potential installment, payment or some payment for those properties could or could not be included based on what they negotiated. So it would be certificate of need, infrastructure, and then potentially, contiguous property, purchases.
Okay.
It's good, yeah, it's messy.
Yeah.
That's
it
a
is.
sexy name.
Yeah, really.
I know, parking, that's kind of a.
Yeah, parking is, right?
Yeah, parking.
Yeah.
Which is where your magic comes in, because what we call it, but,
I know, we're gonna have to come up with, like,
and
then,
having everyone use the same language,
Yeah.
because people always hear about parking. When we talk about oncology, everyone's been touched by cancer.
Mhm.
Going across the parking lot, infusion, having more room, those are things that we can market, that we need your expertise on, so we're all using the same word.
yeah. I've been attending the city and a group called Guiding Growth has been having lots of meetings because the city's under a comprehensive plan review and update right now. And I've been really pleased with how often healthcare comes up in these meetings as being one of the things that is an asset that we have to protect, that it's just really a recurring theme in all of these local community meetings, that healthcare, access to healthcare. Good.
Ryan, did you say kind of give a guesstimate of the cost?
Yeah, we can, I can have, that thing in,
35 to 38.
Around $38 million.
But that's just
It's not much.
still, I mean, that number's changed several times, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has, and it's fluctuating, like we are waiting to sit down with the mayor and John, because we can't put a final number until we know what the final projects are in there. So it's moving. Do I have a document? Yes. Is it final with the things that we know for sure yet? No, because we haven't been able to sit down and have a conversation to make sure that these are the priorities that we need to focus on for certain for the bond.
There was one thing I forgot to put on the then and now, so I'll quickly add it back at my desk so I remember. I used so many times, I don't want to say I pitched it hard, but I used it a lot. And under the new patient room is our room for growth. And the shelf space under the patient room is our space for growth. That's the future. And so like, I do think there's opportunity to come back and say, and now it's time to use that and time to build that out to what we need. And using what we already invested right there, and now it's time to utilize that.
I can share that these are some of the topics that we're going to be talking about, some of the major capital needs. Angela has put this together for us. And so some things that we know that are on the horizon. And again, we just have to prioritize and figure out what are the things we need to focus on so we're all on the same page. We have roof repairs from the 1999 edition that we know need to be done. We want to get in front of that before it starts the week. We have the long-term care HVAC replacement. That one's already in progress. So we're kind of working on some of that right now. Building expansion. We've got space down there outside of the cafeteria, that little courtyard that is unused space that could be tap potential for some of our expansion. The lab is busting its team. We know we're going to end up needing an additional OR as we add surgeons and add services. We've got the generator power plant replacement, potentially moving that out of the building so we can keep that internal hospital space for hospital services. Pharmacy upgrades, that's part of the certificate of need. Pharmacy upgrades for regulatory, but that's also expansion because one of the growing areas as we grow infusion, we have more medications we're providing to patients and need more space to prepare those solutions. Electrical upgrades, we know some of our wiring is aged. The elevators are aging. We need to start replacing and repairing some of those as well before we have issues.
Closed elevators in the peninsula.
Lowest elevators in the peninsula. I will take Kelly's word for that.
Sorry, you feel like you should just stop.
Yeah, sorry.
And then we've got some plumbing. We know we've had some leaks in the plumbing. We've talked about that. Along with that, the parking is, we know we need more parking. We've grown, we've expanded, we haven't added any parking. Air handler replacements. Some of these that are listed on here, you probably remember about it. Like just over a year ago, you approved a resolution where we did $250,000 to have Architects Alaska come in and do an assessment. Review our infrastructure, tell us where our weaknesses are, tell us what needs to be improved. That report's being finalized. A lot of these are some of the preliminaries that we discussed or items that we know we are going to need to focus on over time. And as we sit down next week with John and the mayor, we'll go through that final report and review some of the needs to determine what the top priorities need to be. Going back to the list here, again, nuclear medicine, we talked about that with the certificate of need, expansion of the infusion clinic. We know that the child care facility is going to cost us about $500,000 to upgrade it. That's not something we're necessarily looking at for the bond, but it's something that we're looking at internally, that we need to spend to upgrade that building to meet the code. Hydronic plumbing repairs, additional, and then we've got oxygen generation, something that's on our budget for this upcoming fiscal year. Some of this is bond, some of the things that we're working on right now. Our oxygen system for our hospital is outdated, and so that was part of the budget we approved for next year. We'll look at upgrading some of that. The PAC system, the imaging, well, anytime you have imaging, this stores your CT, your x-rays, all of those images. We've got some upgrades to do on that system in the coming year. And then we also have a lot of lease space around here that we're looking at the potential. Can we acquire some of those properties, like the specialty clinic, that building where we've got a lot of clinical space in, the little infusion building that we have just outside of here, what options exist. So these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about.
Total of all that, or is that the 38 million?
Yeah, no, these are just major capital needs. The 38 million was a lot different than this list here. It'll look more like the 3 CON projects that are start on there, some infrastructure, and then in a potential smaller amount, you saw 12 million for those buildings. But, all the negotiations was taken up to this point with 10,000 installment sales, so some type of fund amount. We're not supposed to do that. This was just a slide again to show us what all the major capital needs are, why it's important to package these things together in the 35 to 38, because we still have all the other things we still have to do, so. But yeah, and again, you know, after we share, you know, or finalize the list with John Hedges in there on the bond package, which that negotiation's been taking place now, then we'll share it with all of you and the board, but we really want the mayor to take the lead on that one and follow his lead, with the things that they would like to put in the bond package.
Okay, so we'll be hearing more about this in April, and it sounds like maybe we will actually have a resolution. Am I catching that correctly?
Hopefully, that's the plan. And Kelly's been super helpful to us, so thanks to Kelly for helping us, keep everyone on track, so.
Don't say it too soon.
Well, so far, it's been very
It's a pretty
helpful.
heavy lift.
It is,
I'm sure
but you've been very
it's
helpful.
helpful.
Thank you. Yeah.